What's up, everyone? So I wanted to make a video and come on here today and talk about how to actually create an AI SEO proposal. Yesterday, I made a video and it was more so focused around why you should be paying attention to AI SEO, specifically in getting customers to show up in the ChatGPT results or in the Google Gemini results or in the AI overviews, rather than just thinking about Google search or Yelp search and some of these other searches, etc. And so today I have a proposal I have to make. So I figured, what a better time to actually walk you through how I would create one of these proposals and using a couple of different tools to do so, mainly AI tools. In fact, I think all three of these are AI tools that I'm going to be using. And it's an interesting mind shift because previous to ChatGPT, I wasn't using many AI tools. And now my whole browser is filled with AI tools. And it was this really philosophical thought I had of, wow, I really rely heavily on these AI tools. And so people that are searching on the internet to find, in this case, it's going to be a tree company we're going to make it for, are also looking up tree companies and AI tools. So I figured, what a better time to create this. So I want to start by highlighting a comment that I got yesterday, which was from Damien. And I just want to be clear that everything that I show you in this video today can be used for any sector of any industry. Mainly, Develomark, our digital marketing agency, we work with home service based companies. We work with restaurants. Really, we work with businesses that rely on getting customers in a local marketplace. So if that sounds like you, this video you may want to pay attention to. If you're servicing local clients or if you are a local business and you want to get more traffic, I want to show you the thought process around how I would create a plan for you and show you with a real customer creating that plan here today. So let's go ahead and get started. Just to give you guys some context, this was the initial customer that we worked with that allowed us to get to this opportunity. So the name of the company was called Year Round Power, and you can go take a look at their website. They're in West Hartford, Connecticut. And so we did an amazing job with their website and their digital marketing. And so they want us to now propose to their sister business, which is a tree care company. And it's really important when you guys go into conversations with businesses that you're thinking about it long term. A lot of the times I see people, and this is a mistake that I used to make, of thinking about something as a transaction and not a long-term relationship. So I get questions about pricing every single day. How do I price a logo? How do I price a website? How do I price SEO services? How do I price digital marketing services? And what I often find is the mistake that people are making is they're not planning on working with that business for 10 years. They're planning on getting money from that business one time and then doing some sort of management. They're not thinking long term. So whenever I go into a working conversation with a customer, I'm always thinking, what am I really trying to get out of this conversation or this business? And for me, that was to get to their next business. And guys, this isn't a malicious thing. Like saying what you want and communicating what you want clearly is not malicious. It is called decision making. It is being definite. And it is something that is so important that you do every time you start a relationship. So when we worked on their business, we were mainly running ads for them and working on their website. So we're running video ads, we're running social ads. And I knew because I wanted to get to their next business, I wanted to really drive results to their actual business that you guys see here, Year Round Power. And we did that in a very simple manner. We created a simple website that drove traffic to it and got them leads for the category that they were looking for. And we made sure that we were high touch as much as possible. This means when they got a new phone call, we let them know. This means when they got a new lead, we let them know. This means when they got a cool comment and when they got some cool engagement or when we saw a new ranking, we consistently let them know. A lot of times what I see is a big mistake people make is they're not only not thinking long term, but they're also not doing a high touch point with the customer. The customer bought from you once. You have to keep selling yourself to the customer. And again, this is not malicious. When we work with the customer, yes, we're optimizing their website one time, but we're also communicating with them and selling our value over and over and over and over again. You've got to remember in digital, people are skeptical. And so the more that you can communicate your value, the more your value is going to be top of mind for them. A key component to this was actually getting them to show up in the ChatGPT results. This happens naturally with Develomark services because we've anchored ourselves around this. We've made sure that all of the optimizations that we're doing for a customer is not only going to get them ranked in the Google search results, it's not only going to get them ranked in the Yelp, the Map, Google Maps, Better Business Bureau, wherever you're thinking, but really now we're deeply paying attention to ChatGPT. So as you can see, for as an example here, I'm going to show you a report that we run using our technology called Splashdsh that allows us to just see how ChatGPT is performing for that customer in that area. So when we ran this report, you can see that out of 25 prompts searched in this area, they scored a 100 out of 100. So what you're seeing on this report right here is really the reason as to why we were able to get to their next business was because we did a good job with their first business. So the trust was built. So selling really isn't selling. We become more of a recommended consultant and a recommended advisor. So using tools like Splashdsh allow us to create these small reports so they can see how we generated business for them through other angles. Now, as you guys may have noticed towards this report, as you guys saw, what I was doing was I was searching ChatGPT directly for a variety of different amounts of keywords. And you can go into the real GPT and do this right now. This question was, where can I get blade sharpening? This question was, what are the best rated small engine repair? This question was, which local shops in West Hartford service chainsaws? And all the visibility report is doing in this case scenario is it's allowing you to prompt dozens or hundreds of keywords at a time to see on average how visible that customer is in that local area. So you can see the first question is, are there any small engine repair companies? If you look at the drop down, you can quickly see that the company is being mentioned there. And that's how we do GPT visibility. So before we talk to a customer, or if we did a good job with a customer, we'll run one of these GPT visibility reports so that we can see how well they're showing up on average, which puts us in a position to showcase how well we've done, or it puts us in a position to sell a new account. So I want to walk you through a lot of the methodologies of selling into a new account. And I'm actually going to build the proposal live here with you guys. And if you have questions as I'm doing it, feel free to put them in the actual stream and I will answer those questions as much as I can to my best ability. So let's get back to the presentation. One thing that I really wanted to call out is I want you guys to think about digital marketing a little bit different than you've traditionally thought about it. This was a post that I put in Reddit last night just to get prepared for this presentation. And it was, is it better to have less accounts that are higher paying or more accounts but lower paying? And that's a question that maybe you guys want to ponder too. Is it better to have 80% of your revenue come from just 5 accounts, or is it better to have 80% of your revenue come from 500 accounts? Develomark has positioned themselves to get their revenue from a lot of accounts. And the reason why I find that more valuable than these large accounts is because if one account leaves us, that's not going to be detrimental to our payroll. That's not going to be detrimental to my income. All that's going to allow us to do is we've got to get another account. If you have a big account that leaves, it's lucrative for cash flow. It's wonderful working on one account. But when an investor comes into your business, that actually might not be a lucrative thing for them because those accounts churn often. And when they churn, you have to lay people off. So I've always been a big fan of getting a lot of small businesses to pay us small incremental amounts over long periods of time. I always say this, but if you think about the iPhone, if you think about a piece of technology like your computer or your iPhone, you pay for the hardware one time, but AT&T, Verizon, they make money forever on you. And so that's where I like to position our services is you get a lot of value, but you pay one small monthly fee. As you can see for this customer in full transparency, over the last 12 months, we've billed $7,291. Now, that may not seem like a lot of money to you, and you may think that you should charge all of that up front, but that's what's getting us to our next customer is breaking down these monthly fees over time and then getting hundreds of those accounts so we have monthly recurring revenue. Because if you turn your business into a project-based business, that can be very stressful for you because now you have a dried up revenue well. Instead, you can just get a bunch of accounts paying you on a monthly basis. So I'm going to show you how we're going to package this all up for the new business. I'm going to show you how we use technology, specifically AI systems, to rapidly increase the efficiencies of our proposals that are data driven, that basically can guarantee results. And then from there, you will see how our business model works a little bit more. And the reason why I'm making these videos recently, specifically about AI, is not random. The main reason is because we've been getting real customers sending us these kinds of messages where they're making $85,000 because somebody decided to prompt in GPT that day. So this was a real example of a customer sending us a message of where they closed a large job because somebody decided to search them on GPT that day. Now, if you walk in and you don't understand their GPT visibility and you don't understand where they're currently standing, you don't really have much power in that situation. Instead, I was able to run a report like this, send it to that customer, and let them know, hey, we're 75% optimized. There's 25% more. Do you do X, Y, and Z services? Are we on these citations? You want to provide the recommendation to the customer when they're excited about it. So the next day that that customer sent us that message, all of a sudden we were in their Better Business Bureau profile, optimizing all of their listings and making sure they're as optimized as possible. Because when we do the citation analysis, when we do the visibility analysis, we see that that specific citation was a really popular one. Another reason I'm doing a lot of this stuff right now is because if you guys haven't noticed, the AI SEO keyword or keywords along AI SEO or how to get found in ChatGPT or how to get found in Google Gemini or how to get found in these different tools is trending way up. And if you do a keyword trend comparison for something like just SEO, you'll see that it's very moderate and it's very seasonal. Whereas AI SEO, AI SEO services, ChatGPT ranking in ChatGPT, a lot of those kinds of things are increasing. And so if you want to position yourself, whether it's your business or your agency correctly, you may want to consider where all of this traffic is growing so that you can position your agency correctly. So that's where a lot of that information is coming from. And this is not exclusive to just one industry. This is exclusive to a ton of different industries. All industries can benefit from this. This example is a flexible connector manufacturer. So manufacturers can benefit from this. All industries can as well. And as you can see, these are all bunch of different types of businesses that are showing up inside of the ChatGPT results, all getting results from just showing up. So I'll stop talking about now why GPT is super important, but I got to tell you right now, it is not much different than the Google search results. So anything that you're optimizing for the search results should translate really well into GPT, but how you measure it is different. And that's why I recommend you check out Splashdsh and run a GPT visibility report for your clients. Now, getting into the content. So AI search is changing everything. If you follow the Search Engine Journal, if you follow anything that is communicating about how search engines are changing, you'll quickly see that articles like this are coming up every single day. In fact, these are two from the last week. They are AI search engines summaries are killing content. The future of rank tracking can go two ways. In my prediction, it's all going to be about visibility and it's going to be way less about clicks. But the proposal that we're going to make today is going to come at it from two different angles. It's going to come at it from getting visibility in places like Search GPT, etc. But then it's also going to be about recommending ad budgets and giving the customer a return on investment estimate that they can take a look at. So let's go ahead and get into the content. To start, I've gone ahead and prepared a bunch of different types of reports that I'm going to use to actually generate this proposal. The first one was from their previous business. The second one is for the business we're actually proposing to, which, as you can see, this is their website. And so the goal here is pretty clear. Get more tree removal work, make sure that they outrank the competitors in their local area. And now we're educating them on why it's important to show up in the ChatGPT results when somebody makes a search in that area. But we need to know where they currently stand because we can't sell something if we don't know what the gap is. So I'm going to have a couple of different AI tools up. The first one is the best AI tool on the planet, which is just simply ChatGPT. When OpenAI goes public, I'm going to dump pretty much all my money into their stock because it is a revolutionary piece of technology. The second one that we're going to use is called Splashdsh. Just as a disclaimer, this is a tool that we've built to generate really quick, actionable marketing reports without having access to any of the integrations really quickly, really professionally, and in a beautiful way. And then the third one that we're going to use is we're going to use a tool called v0.app or v0.dev. I use the .dev, but they changed it to .app. And this is going to allow us to prototype some of the ideas that we have so that when we meet with the customer, they can actually see what we're presenting. So without that, or with that, I should say, let's go ahead and get started. But first, let's open up their actual digital presence report. So this is a report that I can run that allows me to see their website from just a big picture. Now, as I'm going through all of these reports, I'm going to go ahead and write down some of the notable things that I see from their business that's going to allow me to educate them when I start working with them. The first thing I'm going to note is that the content management system is currently on WordPress. So this is something that we're going to have to work around. we are going to be moving their site over to Duda. We use the Duda platform for all of our website builds. I've just found it's the easiest, it's the fastest, it's the prettiest, it's the most responsive. It's one that our entire team can work with. They don't have to work with different builders like Elementor or Beaver Builder or Divi. They don't have to do any of that. They know one builder, one site editor. We have freelancers that can build them and develop them for extremely low costs. And so it's a wonderful way to do that. The second thing is we're going to have to plan around getting their domain, which is in GoDaddy, which is great. We love GoDaddy. And another thing that I've noticed, and you may notice this too, is that the registration date is 10 years ago. And so what that tells me is the domain is aged, which allows me to basically guarantee them SEO results. And I want to make that very clear. The older the domain is, the more likely they are to get results inside of ChatGPT and Google search. Neil Patel recently did a social media post on his Instagram, which was resulting in a lot of the GPT results that are showing up always are sites that have more domain age, which makes sense. Those sites have more backlinks. Those sites typically have higher domain authorities, as you can see. Those sites typically have more referring domains. They have more brand traffic. And that's all going to make you more prepared to sell your SEO services and be more confident that they're going to get results. It's very rare in DevelopMark that we will commit to SEO for a customer that A, has a brand new domain, or B, does not get any brand search volume. We would probably never recommend that. We may do a website for them, but we would never recommend actually doing SEO for them. So that's the quick insights that I can get from there. The second quick insights that I can get is this customer is using something, or I'm sorry, this customer is getting reviews. And what this report is showing me is on all of those reviews, on average, what is being mentioned the most about their business. And you can see the clear thing here is trees. So we really want to make sure that the theme of the website has a couple of things, right? Trees is one of them. That's the main theme. We also want to make sure that we show their work. We want to make sure that we highlight their services. We want to make sure that we talk about how they're being recommended. That is one thing that's being mentioned often. We want to talk about the crew that's actually going to be going out there. You can see that that's there. We want to talk about the owner. The owner is mentioned 29 times in the review profile. So we want to talk about the owner as much as possible. We want to talk about how professional and timely they are. These are really important things for the people that are researching this business or leaving reviews for this business. So professional and timely is a critical thing. Typically when people have a tree issue, it could be an emergency and it could be something that they need to do for property reasons. The third one is, or the sixth one is yard. So we may want to talk about yard cleanup. That might be an important thing for people to see. And the large company and experience. We really want to talk about those things because this is not a fly-by-night business. This is an experienced company. And then, of course, we want to talk about getting a price quote directly through the website. So these are things that show up very often. Now, if I did not know the context of these words, I may want to use the sentiment and take a look deeper. So in this case, I want to go ahead and see how they're mentioning yard, because that is one of the only ones that I was not clear. So users are talking about it in their backyard. Users are talking about that their yard looks like they were never here. So I may want to take some of those quotes and I may want to actually copy those quotes and utilize them in their marketing. I'll take a look at another one, big tree in the yard, trees from my yard. So yard seems to be a lot of the keyword phrase here. We had a forest situation in my backyard. Otherwise, nobody knew there was a tree hop. Okay, yeah, so it looks like yard cleanup, really making the yard look like it was brand new and there was never trees on the ground, which is really, really good. So I could take a look at this data and really, really look at it. I'm going to take 3 quotes directly from the reviews about the yard, and I'm going to make sure that I highlight that on their marketing so that homeowners know that other homeowners have experienced that they have a really solid solution for yard cleanup. So scrolling down, I could see their organic traffic, which is trending downwards, but looks like it's seasonal as well. And we'll talk about the seasonality for a business like this and how to prepare yourself for those kinds of conversations. And this is something that we're seeing with a lot of websites. Websites aren't getting as many clicks as they used to get. So a lot of the organic traffic charts that we're pulling, you're actually seeing that website traffic diminish. And so AI visibility is taking over. So I would pay attention to the organic traffic, yes, but I would also pay attention to how visible that business is in that area, because visibility is becoming just as an important metric as traffic is. And of course, this is something we're going to improve for them. So should we get the account, and I'm hoping we do over time, it's going to allow us to increase this chart by adding content to their website directly. Then scrolling down, you can see they have 8 total pages. And this is something that we've noticed with a lot of our websites at Develomark is that most people just go to the actual homepage. So with their current business's website, we're going to recommend a similar situation where we simply just build one website page. As you can see, this website is just one page and we drive traffic to it. So if you click any of these anchors, they're not actually going to individual pages. They're just going to the actual sections on that page itself. So we're going to do a similar approach with this business because 50% of their traffic or 50% of their pages get 0 monthly visitors. 96% of their traffic actually goes to the homepage. So in that case, we're going to create one dynamic page in our proposal, and we're going to redirect all of their URLs directly to their homepage. Now, just a disclaimer, guys, this doesn't work for every business, right? Develomark has a very specific type of customer that we look for, and I'm going to kind of tell you what that secret sauce is in this video, the perfect customer, because I know who they are now by doing this for 8 years. We've been in business since 2018, July 4th specifically. And at that time frame, I really thought about like, who is our perfect customer? And this customer that you're seeing is that perfect customer. And I want to tell you why we decide to pitch these customers while we don't pitch a lot of other customers. And maybe you can use that formula to pretty much predict and guarantee SEO success. So I'm going to put that in my notes here in my actual proposal that 96% of the traffic goes to the homepage, because when I go to make that recommendation, I don't want the customer to think that they're losing anything. I want them to think that they're gaining by eliminating the things that they shouldn't focus on and by focusing on the things that are currently getting traffic. To me, at least, it makes no sense to optimize a page where people aren't even going to. So that's a little bit about the strategy of how we would utilize top pages. And then from there, we may want to look at the total keywords that they're currently ranking for. As you can see, they're actually ranking pretty well for a lot of keyword phrases. So you would want to preserve a lot of the rankings here, such as tree service Farmington, tree service Hartford. They're actually ranking really well for these terms. And that's because the site has healthy amount of authority. Now, a big focus in our marketing is going to be creating dynamic service page area content for all of the towns that they service. And this is a simple conversation that you want to have with the customer. Basically, you want to say, where do you service and where do you not? If you look at this website on the front end, it looks like there's one page. But if you actually look at the sitemap, you'll see that there are a ton of pages optimized for SEO. So if a user types in lawnmower repair in a certain town, you'll see that there's content written for each of those areas where they service. So critical thing for service area businesses specifically, if they're going out, is you still want to optimize for those pages because ChatGPT and AI search engines are critically known for calling out on those URLs to gather information. So I still recommend creating a lot of that service area content, or in this case, preserving it if they already have that and migrating that over to their website and avoiding a redirect, because a redirect could slow down their website. You're taking a user from one place, you're sending them to another. There's a little bit of server time there. And so therefore you could lose rankings because the page speed isn't quick enough. So be very careful with that. So that's what I've gathered from the digital presence report in Splashdasher. Now let's move on and go to a different report called the competitive overview. So the competitive overview, what you're looking at is I'm going to see how well they're currently doing against their current local marketplace. So this is a wonderful report that you can run that will find all of their local competitors in a given area, as you can see down here. And so on the top right, I can turn on how well they are ranking or optimized against some of their local competition in some of the key categories. As you can see, they have opportunity to rank higher for organic traffic. So I would put 74% below organic traffic. That's giving us a clear indication that we need to optimize for their SEO, so we can tell them exactly where we're going to improve. And this is data that is completely stacked up against their local organic competitors. Their domain authority is 71% higher than the average. To me, that is a gold situation. Domain authority is the number one thing on this list that is difficult to improve for a customer because it is so many things in factor of it. One, how long they've been in business. Two, how many links they have. Those aren't things that I could just like snap my fingers and then all of a sudden they have way more domain authority. This is like a lot of hard work. And so when a customer already is 71% above domain authority, that is a little bit of the secret sauce that I wanted to tell you. Pitch the customers that are above average in domain authority. Don't pitch the customers that are below average in domain authority. The reason for that is very simple. Domain authority is how likely it is for a search engine to link to that domain. So just by working on this website, I can probably tell you we're going to have a lot more success than if we were working with a website that had low domain authority. Same thing with the reviews. If they're 35% above average of reviews in the market category, I don't have to do much work when it comes to telling them to get reviews or implementing a review strategy. All I simply need to do is make the improvements that I'm going to do, run highly effective ads, as I'm going to show you exactly how to pick the budget and etc., and then optimize all of everything else, and their brand's already working for them. So that's another kind of thing is if the customer you're potentially working with, in this case, is 35% above average of the 10 competitors in that area's reviews, when a homeowner goes to make a search, they see our ad, they click, they compare us, they're going to choose us because we already have all of the factors that are going to work towards us. Now, it's no shock that the organic traffic is 74% below, their total amount of keywords is 59% below. But give me a second, I'm just going to take a sip of this water. I want to talk to you about the relation there because organic traffic and keywords go hand in hand. But because their domain authority is 71% above the market average, I'm going to be able to get more keywords on their domain instantly. It's not going to take us long to improve that metric. And then the final metric it'll compare against is the domain age. This is something that you simply just cannot manipulate. And so when a customer has the crown or when the customer has the oldest domain in that marketplace, you're basically lucky. You've gotten the best possible customer you can work with. The domain is aged, it's going to index well. Anything you do to this website is going to be Houdini. It's going to be magic. You're literally going to be able to print them money in this case. So this is a little bit of the secret sauce that I like to use when selecting customers to work with. I really like to look and see how is the market doing compared to my customer on average, and that's going to guide a lot of what I'm going to do from the proposal. So when I go to meet with them, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, we're going to win, and here's why. You're 125% above your market average when it comes to domain age. Do you understand how lucky you are? Do you understand how easy this is going to be? But if the data was reversed, for example, if I was one of the companies that were down here and my domain was registered for 2 years, like this one here, Fleet Farmington, I may propose to them a little bit differently. I actually might not sell them SEO, and I may instead sell them on something brand related or give them some photos or focus on their videos or get their citations listed and try to not give them the whole enchilada. So that's a little bit about how I would approach that with the competitors that are there. So I'm going to answer a question really quick. Have you used other tools like Gemini, DeepSeek, Perplexity, or Cloud instead of ChatGPT? The answer is yes. The reason I use ChatGPT is one, I think that the results are always better. But two, I like sticking to just one that I can use. I have the app on my phone. I have all my workflows built around it. It's very similar to how I will stick to one car brand, or I'll stick to one video game console brand, or I'll stick to a clothing brand. Once I've gotten the brand into my life, I don't really switch too much. So that's a good question. Now, for the development tools that we're creating right now, you'll be able to do that with all of the different AI algorithms out there. But I truly believe in the future, there's going to be a lot of people that just go to one instead of trying to go to all of these different little ones. So great question. So let's go over to actually the next section and the next report that I want to highlight here when I'm creating this proposal, which is the localized ad spend intelligence. So a lot of the times when we're selling digital marketing services, we may want to know how much competitors are spending in that area. It gives the customer understanding in a basis of, I wonder if they're spending this much, because they're going to take your quote, they're going to take what you say and ponder if it's working for other companies. So the localized ad spend intelligence allows us to see which tree companies are running ads in that defined area. And this works with pretty much every niche that you can think of. And so if we can find ads, it will display this information. Based on looking at this data, the average company is spending anywhere from $800 a month to $18,000 per month. And so we might want to stick around right in the middle. And there's a report that you can run that's going to tell you exactly how much they're going to want to spend in advertising. But it's important for the customer to know who's advertising in that area, as it gives you insight for them to understand that you've done your research. You're not just gambling, you're not just guessing, you're going in and you're giving a well-defined number and a well-defined answer. I'm a big proponent of a book called Scientific Advertising. This is a book that I've read multiple times. And as you can see, I've read it so many times that the pages are actually coming out of the book. There's a ton of highlighted features here. And the reason why it's called scientific advertising is because it's all about giving the customer a direct answer and not a maybe. You're spending their money. Now, the guy that wrote this book, Claude Hopkins, when he wrote the book, it was during the Great Depression. And so there really wasn't money to gamble. Nowadays, right, we're so abundant. So you could waste everything. You could waste your whole day on social media. You can use DoorDash. You can use Uber Eats. You can use Uber. You don't really walk places anymore. You're so filled with the abundant mindset of the world. Everything is available to you. But when this gentleman wrote this book, it was when brands were scared out of their lives. And so he really takes a methodical approach to doing this. And I try to do the same thing when I propose to a customer. I try to think about, like, dude, this is your money. I'm not going to waste your money. I have to make some critical decisions here. ALX is spending $900 per month. TreeWise is spending $2,250 per month. If we want to compete, we're going to have to be right around that area to make sure that we can get the maximum results for your services. So that's how we'll make a little bit of the ad budget recommendations. And then from there, we can show them what kind of ads these companies are running in that area so they can get an understanding of what the creative could look like. And so we will do that and take a look and see what the text looks like, filter that by a lot of the different competitors in that area. For example, I know this is one of their competitors here. And so on average, they're probably spending that much amount of money. So I'm going to put that into my proposal that the top competitor is spending on average $2,250 per month. They're probably at a $47 cost per lead, and they have 14 ads running on average. And that's how Splashdashed is getting that information of how much they're probably spending is we're using a formula of how many ads they have, their category, the cost per click, and then we're simulating their performance on the right-hand side based on that data. So that's what the localized ad spend intelligence is going to allow me to do, is I always like to know who we're going up against. If I'm going up at bat, I need to know who's pitching. And I need to know who's batting next, and I need to know who's pitching next. I've got to know the market because that's what people are going to look at as well. So let's move on to a GPT visibility report for the tree company. So we haven't worked on this brand yet, but as you saw, this is the brand we did do work for. And as you can see, the results are very different. One has a visibility of just around 100%. One has a visibility of around 6%. What makes this key difference? Well, the first is we haven't worked on the website. We haven't analyzed the citations. We haven't optimized all of their citations across the web. We haven't looked at what keywords people are searching. We haven't done the research that we're doing in this area for this website. One thing I see right away is that one of the first words that were very visible in the responses was Angie and guides. And so if we want to show up in the AI results, we are going to have to make sure that we're optimized in the Angie's List results. We're going to have to make sure that we pay attention to a lot of these citations that are out there and spend some of our budgets in those areas. Now, a lot of customers, when you present this information, they may be upset about it. They may go, oh, I don't like that citation. I don't like that brand. I don't actually think that's a scam. I don't think that that's going to work for us. And when you say, I don't think, you lead with data. When customers go, I don't think, you need to lead with data. If you don't have that answer for them, they also think that you don't think, and they think that you're gambling. And so from this perspective, if I look and see a lot of responses that are coming in through this, and I see that Angie is one of them that are occurring quite often, I want to make sure that I understand how this is being referenced in the GPT responses, or else I'm never going to get recommended in ChatGPT. So if you think about that, you've got to know which citations are being mentioned often, and then you've got to make sure that you can optimize the client on those citations, but more importantly, have a reason for that. So if I were to look at the results here, there are a bunch of different terms that we're going to want to make sure we consider. The first is arborist. A lot of the times, a GPT response is being shown. Arborist is one of the main keywords that are showing up. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all of these terms here. And so for optimizing my GPT, specifically for GPT searches, I'm going to want to make sure we optimize for those terms and we focus on the citations that are being mentioned right now. In this case, it's Angie, and then there's something along the lines of guides, which we can do further research on and make sure that we see that as well. So with the GPT visibility report, I can confidently go into the meeting next week and I can say, hey, you're not showing up at all in ChatGPT, yet the other business that we worked with you on is showing up very visibly in ChatGPT. Now, of course, competition, volume, domain authority, all of this stuff matters for showing up in GPT. But as long as we have an answer when we go to that meeting next week, we can confidently tell them how we're going to improve and we can benchmark that information and look back on next year. Let's say we run this on September 23rd of 2026. We can clearly show them the difference that's been made by optimizing for the ChatGPT results. And so critical that you run this report before working with a customer so that you can have something that's benchmarked. So in the near future, you can go back and compare. So how we're going to optimize for that is taking a look at all of the top keywords that are being mentioned and then optimizing the website for those top keywords, but also paying attention to the citations that they're currently GPT is responding with and getting them listed and optimized there. So I notated a lot of the words that people are saying, or I'm sorry, that GPT is responding with, and I'll use that for my proposal a little bit later. The next thing is this one is a way for us to see how words are being used across 38 tree removal companies in that area, across 2,700 customer reviews. Now, before, when I looked at the sentiment of just their business, this is giving me a market sentiment. So it's allowing me to see what people value in that area rather than just looking at what people value about their business. Now, when I scroll down, I can see which businesses it actually referenced. And as you can see, a lot of the data did come from their actual business, but a lot of the data also came from their actual competition. Now, one thing I'm already seeing as a positive thing here is people like seeing that the job gets done. People like seeing the work that was completed. Trees is a common theme. So obviously we're going to make the website tree themed. People like seeing the crew and the team. With this insight, let me ask you, would you make a website that didn't show their crew? If 88 occurrences happened for crew and 82 occurrences happened from team, these are people that have left reviews and these are in a positive light. It would be ridiculous for you to create a website, ridiculous for you to create ads that don't mention the crew and the team. This is a way for you to do a lot less, but utilize data to get a better return. Same thing with the yard and cleaned and the property and cleaned. So you can probably see a theme here that's going on. People want the job done right. They want the work completed for the trees to get removed using the crew and the team of their choice that leaves them with a clean yard and is properly priced. That is the story that's going on here. Some of this might seem really obvious, guys, but when you're working with multiple different industries, multiple different marketplaces, this might not actually be that obvious. For example, I'm going to take this exact screenshot and I'm going to rerun this report. And instead of doing West Hartford, which is the area that they're in, I'm going to do somewhere like Greenwich, which is another area in Connecticut. And so while that report loads, I'm going to get different data of a different marketplace, which is going to allow me to position that completely different. As you can see, now we're in West Hartford, or I'm sorry, Greenwich. The terms have completely changed. Critical. Because if you assume everything is the same in every single place, you're gambling. In this case, we have new terms that have showed up. We have garden, right? We have happy. We have polite. That wasn't in the West Hartford one. What about this area makes people value polite more? Polite might be a word that I want to use in my marketing if I'm promoting a tree company in this area. Garden is way different than yard, right? These people value a different term. They value a different meaning. They value a different context, right? House, future, these neighbors. The old report that we showed you doesn't have any of that. It has house, it doesn't have neighbors, it doesn't have garden, it doesn't have polite. So when you're selling, especially a different business you've never worked with, the sentiment analysis is a really great way for you to show them the market research that they need to know in that area. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that, and I'm going to copy all of those terms so that when we do more when we do more marketing for them, we can confidently state why we're choosing some of the terms that we're choosing, because that's what people value in that area. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Okay. And let's move on. So now we understand how what people want to see and what they want to be referenced as directly on the website from the sentiment. So now we're going to go over to Ad Budget Simulator. If you're working with a customer, I don't care who it is, they're going to ask the inevitable question, how much money should I spend on ads? Now you know the messaging. Now you know the competition. Now you know the ads people are running. Now you need to know how much money are we going to spend on ads? And that's what the ad budget forecast does really well. For this business specifically, they make around $2,000 on average for a residential trade. That is a wonderful number. And that's probably right around what I would say after searching myself to see what other tree companies charge. They get about a 5% conversion rate on their website. When we make it, we look to preserve that. And you can find that information out in their analytics if they have a current website, or you can just use the standard averages across the industry, and you can just ChatGPT what that average is. And then they close around 33% of the leads that come in. So to give you that math, if they get 10 leads, they close 3 of them, they make $6,000. That's how that would work. So the ad budget simulator allows us to go, okay, these are the cities that you want to target. These are the income brackets that you want to target. For this proposal specifically, we're going to target all of their immediate service area cities, and we're going to target income levels that are above 75,000. So these are homeowners above $75,000. And we're going to target a different age bracket. We're going to target people that are 25 and above, because younger people own homes now too. And we're going to keep race completely optimized and gender completely optimized. So we don't want to minimize it too much. What that does is it gives us ad units. So if you think about an ad unit, all it is a group of 1,000 people. Most advertising softwares or most advertising networks optimize for cost per 1,000 impressions. So we bucket them by 1,000. So if there's 48,000 people around this area in my categories, there's roughly about 49 ad units. And so it's not about reaching a ton of people. It's about reaching the right people. It's better to reach 48,000 homeowners that have a tree issue than it is to reach 1 million people that don't own homes and rent. Does that make sense? So we're not looking for big numbers here. We're looking for defined numbers. There's a very big difference in big numbers versus defined numbers. And when you make this your pitch and you make this your style based on scientific advertising, which I recommend you read, you're going to see that your conversion rates are going to be much higher because people are going to trust you with their money more, which is the goal. So once I put that information, I'm going to get an accurate amount of money that we should spend per month. And that amount is $1,846 per month, right? That's a very specific number. And this is a number that's not perfect, but this is how we'll start their ad campaign. This is the budget we'll recommend for them starting out based on the technology that we're using. So from there, I can quickly see a breakdown of potentially what's going to happen. I'm just going to copy this information. And so what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to say, if you spend $1,800, since each cost per click will be roughly $1.79 on average, you're going to get 1,032 clicks in this campaign. With a conversion rate of 5% and a close rate of 30%, you're going to get 17 customers on a monthly basis from our digital marketing campaign. So that's going to be roughly around a $32,153 return on ad spend. So you're going to make $34,000, but you're going to spend around $2,000, not counting our retainer, of course, which I'll get into in a couple seconds here. And that's going to allow them to visualize how profitable an ads campaign can be. If you're walking into a conversation and you're not presenting them with this information, they're never going to know how profitable this is going to be. Now, of course, big asterisk on this is projected. This is simulated. This is not perfect. You cannot guarantee this. There's brand working here. There's reviews working here. There's the media working here. There's the photos. There's the videos. There's the messaging. There's the sentiment. It's not just about spending money. It's about spending money in the right place at the right time with the right wording, with the right picture. It's really defined down to a science. And in fact, their ROI is probably going to be bigger than this. But this is just looking at what they're going to be spending on specifically search ads or a little bit of meta ads, a little bit of combined. We'll talk about that strategy in just a moment here. So I'll come prepared to that meeting knowing exactly what they're going to spend in that area. And that's really critical. On the budget simulator too, I can quickly see what populations are in that area. And this will really guide the people on our website, because people on the website and your demographics is really important. If you're in an area that is predominantly Hispanic and you're showing all white people on your website, you're going to lose. If you're in an area that is predominantly white people and you're showing Asian people on your website, you're going to lose. The reality is men don't read ads about makeup. They just don't. It's not for them. We don't want to see ads as men with women on them. That makes no sense. Women don't want to see ads with men on them. We will buy from places that promote people that are similar to us. So when I walk into the conversation, I'm going to say, this is a very diverse marketplace. You have 69% white people. If I turn off just that town, I get a much bigger picture. Look at how diverse this area is. It would be a sin for me to go in there and say, just put white people on your website. Just put Asian people on your website. Just put black people on your website. Just put Latinos on your website. No, you've got to be diverse. And that's why for professional website companies, you'll see them using diversity. But if the area is not diverse, you may also want to consider that too. And just like with sentiment analysis, as I showed you before, every time you run a demographics report inside of Splashdash, it's going to be different information. Use that to your advantage. So let's take a look and see what we got. 41% are white people. We got 27% are Hispanic people, right? We've got 23% are African American, right? And then we've got 5% are Asian people. And then we'll just do the rest as other. So as you can see, when I make the website, I'm going to use diversity in my stock photos. If there's any AI generated images, I'm going to use diversity. I'm not just going to assume here. The problem with most people is they're going into these situations just completely assuming things. And when you can have this level of conversations with your customer, I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to be one of those things where you can excellently speak to them at a different level. And that different level is, you know their market, you know who you're speaking to, and you have extreme confidence with that level of information. So let's keep going. As we looked at the demographics, we now have some clear information of how much we're going to spend. We now have some clear information of who we're going to target directly on the website. Now let's look at the trend. So this allows me to see at a keyword level what the seasonality is for a lot of the keyword phrases. As you can see for tree removal, their seasonality are usually high in June and August and low in December. Now, most people look at this information and they may quit because we're going into the fall and we're going into the winter here in Connecticut. You may say, oh, they may not want to do this right now because that's not the right time. Well, flip that on its head. This is sales material to me because I'm thinking, oh, what a better time to focus on this in fall in December, because look, searches are at an all-time high in June and August. And so in December, when search is at an all-time low, when you guys have the time to focus on this, that may be when we want to spend time together optimizing your website, correct? Right? You may want to think about it that way. Now with Keyword Trend Report, you can look at this at every single level of keywords and take a quick look. As you can see, just by looking at the charts, a lot of the keyword phrases are very seasonal. Most of them go ahead and start to trend right around that April time. So that's when we may want to increase the advertising budget, but we may want to optimize the website and take the time away from this business while they have very scarce time, just like you do. You have very scarce time to optimize this stuff. So that's a core pitch when I go into this. I'm going to write that down. December and fall is best time to do this. The reason for that is searches are at an all-time low at that time. And the business knows this too, right? This isn't rocket science to them, but it's good for you to come prepared for this data, especially if you are unsure if a business is seasonal or not. Because a lot of the times you'll work with businesses like dentists, right? Is a dentist seasonal? You'll work with companies like a plumber. Is a plumber seasonal? Do you know that information? Can you sell against that information? If you can't, you may want to use trends, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Is we're going to pitch that if it's June and August, there's no way you're going to get this stuff done, because June and August, that's the busiest time. So June and August is really when we want to make sure this is as optimized as possible, because you might have your biggest year ever. And we want to track that stuff. And I'll talk about how we track and measure success in a little bit here. So June and August is busy season. That's when we raise budgets, and that's when we go hard. So that's how we'll use the seasonality to actually do this. So Danny asks, we need to focus on AI SEO and optimize for Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok, and Reddit and links. Yeah, and I think that question or that comment, it's not really a question, is holistic is the plan here. It's not just focusing on one search engine. It's really about being holistic. And so the activities that we do at our company, the activities that we do at our agency, the activity that we do with our clients is about being holistic and about trying to do the right thing for them, which is doing things that AI can't do, helping them make videos and distributing those videos, taking their pictures and distributing those photos. Any customer now can go on ChatGPT and write an amazing article about plumbing services. Anybody can do that, right? So they don't need to pay you for that. What they do need to pay you for is strategic direction, the data-driven decision-making, the advertising management, and the creative stuff like Danny's saying to optimize them for all of these different types of places. So it's about being more holistic, answer engine optimization, generative answer engine optimization, GEO, those kinds of things. So I completely agree with that information there. So let's go back and let's take a look and see what we've got. So I want to recap this information for you guys. We have recap. They're using WordPress. We're moving them to Duda. They're on GoDaddy. Their domain is 10 years old. The themes are tree, work, services, recommend, crew, the owner, professional, and yard cleanup. People are very concerned about their yard. So we collected a bunch of different information about their yard cleanup that was very successful. 96% of the traffic goes to the homepage. We're creating a website that has one page because of that information. Most of your traffic doesn't even get to your other pages, so they're just a waste of our time focusing on there. They are 74% below market average on organic traffic. They are 71% above domain authority on market average, 35% above reviews, 125% above in domain age, which puts us in a ripe position for us to actually market you. The top competitor in their area is spending around $2,250, getting a $47 cost per lead, and analyzing 14 ads. GPT is mentioning keywords like crazy in their responses. They're targeting local, they're targeting arborists, they're targeting trimming, they're targeting area, they're doing landscaping, they're doing consistently, they're saying providers, they're saying pruning. So in all of the copy of the website, the title tags, the meta descriptions, we're going to focus on the keywords that GPT provides a ton of response to. We used Splash-Dash GPT visibility report because I don't have time to manually search 100 prompts to see how visible the customer is. So I'm going to use that information to guide my strategy. In the sentiment analysis, people, they need to see this on the website, right? It's a sin if you don't put this on their website. They need to see the crew. They need to see the team. They need to see that the yards are cleaned up. They need to see the price. They need to see the company. And they need to make sure that customers are happy. Homeowners in that area, we're going to target people that own homes. They make over $75,000 a year. They're over 25 years old. That's a total market average of 48,600 people, giving us a total monthly spend of $1,846.80. That's estimated, of course. And that forecast is going to bring us to 1,032 clicks with the average cost per click, giving us 17 customers, giving us a potential return of $32,000. The demographics we're going to show on the website are going to be 41% white people, 27% Hispanic people, 23% Africans, and then 5% Asian. We want to use diversity in this case because the report showed us that in that area, people are heavily diverse, which is really critical. And then with that being said, December is the best time to optimize this because when June, April, August, in that summer, springtime comes along and people are searching for tree companies based on the data that we showed here, then it's going to be very difficult for you to pay attention, and it's going to be very difficult for you to pay attention to doing this for your business because you're going to be busy answering phones, you're going to be busy doing estimates, you're going to be busy doing all of that information. So with that being said, guys, that's how I would approach this sales meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a proposal. Our pricing is going to be very similar. It's going to be a low monthly retainer for all of the services. And then the rest is going to go into the ads budget, as I've mentioned, how we calculated that ads budget. And then I will check in with you guys in about a week or two to see how this actually performed. So thank you guys for your time today, and I'll see you guys later.